Welcome back, folks. Today I want to install a heater in my garage, ironically on one of the hottest days of the year, but this is in preparation for a cold winter. So I picked up a Comfort Zone 7500 watt heater, and I need to mount this up on my ceiling and also run a 220 line. Now, I'm not a certified electrician. I'm just a homeowner that has a little bit experience of doing this stuff myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this all myself, but I do recommend that if you do any of this stuff and you don't have experience, to definitely check into a professional installing this stuff for you. Now, I do wanna stress that this is not a how-to. This is just how I'm installing this. Now, I am following the directions given by Comfort Zone on the proper wire gauge, the proper breaker size, and I'm going to be using some extra precautions with some extra casing around the wire coming out of the heater up to my ceiling. So again, this is not a how-to, this is just showing you guys how I did it. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and let's start the install process. So here is the heater. This is the Comfort Zone. It's the 7500 watt version that they make. And I think this is going to be a pretty nice little unit. I've read a lot of reviews on this and watched several videos of people using them in 3-car garages, and they say they work really well. I'm going to be mounting this relatively close to my work area, so I think this will put out ample heat. So the things that you're going to need for this, or the things that I'm going to be using for this, are 8-2 wire. I got 40 feet of it. That's going to be about 10 feet longer than I need, but you're better off getting more cable than what you actually need because you don't want to be short. And then you're going to need a 40 amp breaker. I got a dual pole breaker that is a square D that will work with my breaker box. So I did pick up this little box right here, and this is going to go in the ceiling, and I'm going to get a face plate for it that I can actually mount this conduit into, and then this conduit is going to go from that face plate down into the heater. So it'll give it a little bit cleaner look, and it'll keep that bare wire from being exposed outside the ceiling. So this is the Comfort Zone CZ230ER. And this one actually will produce a massive 21,000 to 25,000 BTUs per hour. You do get some nice little movable vents here. It does have a fan inside, so it will blow out the air. And then down here, you are gonna have some controls that will display also your temperature and everything that you need there. Now, this does come with the mounting materials you need, and it also comes with a little remote, so you don't have to have this mounted to where you can actually get to these controls down here. You can use the remote control if you'd like. So it has this nice ceiling mount that I'm going to be using, and that should make it really nice to be able to get up on the ceiling and position properly. The ceiling mount has 3 different mounting options, so you can get it angled correctly. And also, you can mount this with either 3 screws, 2 screws, or 1. If you wanted to pivot it so you could turn it, if you're going to be working in different areas in your shop, you can do that with this particular model. You just want to make sure that you've got a long enough bolt that's going to be running into a stud or some sort of block of wood up in your ceiling. Now, they do have a few little warnings here. They suggest running at least 8 gauge wire. And they also want you to only use copper wire. You wouldn't want to use aluminum wire for this. And then you want to make sure that you basically don't mount this any closer than 8 inches to a vertical surface. So you're going to want to have plenty of space around it. And then also you need it to be at least 2.4 meters above the garage floor or the grade of wherever you're putting this. Now, looking at the back of the unit, we can see the fan right here. Then you also have a thermostat right here. This one, a lot of people are actually taking out of the casing because this is going to be reading the ambient temperature of the room. Some say that whenever it's touching all this metal heats up and it doesn't read properly. So they just unbolt it and then kind of extend it outside of the actual case. And then we also have, if you look down in here, there's an additional thermostat that's going to be actually reading the temperature of how much heat is actually being produced by this. And then deep down inside there, on the other side of the fan, is going to be your heating coils. So this is the bottom of the unit, and this is where we need to open this up to be able to do any of the wiring. There's just some screws along the outside of it. And then this should just pull right up. And it does look like you get a diagram of how this should be wired up, which is really nice that this is actually stuck to the bottom of this so you can make an easy reference to it. Now, you do have 2 different punch outs depending on what you want to actually use for the wiring. You've got a 1/2 inch and then a 3/4 inch. So depending on which style you have, I went with the 1/2 inch. The wire casing that I've got is 1/2 inch, and so are the little grommets that fit in there to protect the wire. So the inside of this is pretty basic. You've got a wire strap right here. Down here you do have a ground for your wire that you're going to be running in, so you'll put your ground right there. And then you also have your 2 terminals, the L1 and the L2 as what they're calling it. So this is a super simple connection. You're basically going to have a ground and then 2 additional wires that are going to be going in right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the punch out. I went ahead and went with the 1/2 inch casing like I was saying, so I'm going to punch out this smaller one right here. Trying to be a little bit careful because I don't want to mar up the heater at all. That should just break right off. So these end pieces came with the actual casing that I'm going to be using. This is going to be like a watertight seal. You don't need something that's going to be this heavy duty. I went ahead and got these because they came with the casing, and I think this is going to be a pretty good setup. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop this in here just like this, and then we can tighten down the little washer on the back end. So I've determined where I want to put it is right about in this region here. So now I'm going to have to look and see if there's a mounting point that I can get to up here. And if there's not, I'm going to have to build some blocking to actually put that in. Luckily, I have access to all this through my attic right here. So this should be relatively easy. It's just a matter of figuring out if there's already a board there for me to drill into. Let's see. Looks like there's something from this direction. Okay. Yep. There's another. So there should be a stud right here in between these 2 spots that I marked. I'm going to get a very small drill bit and drill up in there and see if there actually is wood right above me. Okay, now that we've got our first hole determined, I'm gonna go ahead and mount the first mount, and then I'm gonna get it positioned in the angle that I want, drill the other 2 holes, and determine where I need to put my additional blocking up in my attic. Now I am gonna be using some longer bolts than what came with the unit. The unit comes with very, very tiny bolts. They would only work if you didn't have drywall, but since I have drywall, I've got to go through that, then I've got to get into the wood up here. So I'm going to use these longer bolts with the washers that were included. Let's go ahead and get this started, and then we'll use our impact to get it all the way driven through. There we go. Got that mounted. I may mount additional bolts up there, but now I'm thinking about it, it might be kind of nice to be able to pivot this, and it is specifically designed to be able to do that. 1 bolt is significant enough to hold the weight of this whole unit. So for now, I think I'm going to leave it like that. I may add another one in the future, but we're going to go with 1 bolt so I can pivot this if necessary. So setting this up is really, really simple. You've got your ground wire right here. You just kind of have to cut that to length. And then you've got your 2 power wires right here that'll just be running to either L1 or L2 terminal. And then on the other end, we'll just run this to the breaker box, and then we'll wire that up. Now, I definitely recommend having another person there to help you put this heater up. It's not super heavy, but it would definitely be a lot easier if you just had an extra hand there. There wouldn't be any risk of you falling off the ladder or maybe dropping the heater. Now, as you guys can see here, this is the wiring job into my breaker box. I've basically just followed some of the guidelines that I have learned over the years. All right, so I got it all hooked up. Let's go ahead and see if it'll power on. Looks like we do have a light right there, so we are officially getting power now that I've flipped the breaker. Let's hit the power button. There There we go. It looks like it's on. It's on low. And the temperature, it's kicking on. Raise the temperature up and down, set it on 92, put this on high. And I do notice that whenever I turn it on high, the fan doesn't seem to actually blow any harder, but I hear something click and you can definitely feel the temperature raise. So I think it maybe just turns on an extra heating coil. And also you can change between Fahrenheit and Celsius if you needed to, along with setting a timer. So if you set the timer and you set it for 1, it'll run for 1 hour and then it'll kick off. This will be a really good feature if you're just wanting to heat up the garage for a short period of time and you don't want to have to worry about remembering to turn this thing on or off. So I can definitely feel a ton of heat coming out of here. Now it is really warm in my garage already. It's 86 degrees in the garage, so it's very, very warm, but this thing will be really nice in the colder weather because I can feel that all the way over at my workbench. Now also, whenever you turn the unit off, it does go into a countdown mode. The fan will continue to run to basically blow off all the heat that's on the heating coils. And as you can see, it's counting down from 90 seconds. And then after this countdown, the fan will actually shut off. The unit will be cool enough for it to shut off. So I really do like that feature. There's not a lot of excess heat that's just sitting there. The fan will just blow off all that heat and you don't have to worry about that unit being hot whenever it actually does truly power down. So there you go, that's how easy it is to install this Comfort Zone heater. Now we are in the middle of summer, so I'm not gonna actually get to really truly test this until winter, but I am planning on putting out a review in the future once we get some colder weather, maybe around January, where I've gotten to use this for a couple of months to really see if this heater actually does heat up my 3-car garage the way that I'm hoping it does. Now, if you guys are interested in this heater, I'm gonna put some links down below so you guys can check it out or pick one up for yourself.